Hey, so today I'm reviewing the MAC Studio Waterweight foundation. This is my third video in my foundation review series. I review foundations based on the price per ounce, the number of shades, the coverage, the wearability, the longevity, and the packaging. I think I'm forgetting something. And the ingredients. So let's get started. The price per ounce for the MAC Studio Waterweight is $34. That's not as bad as the Bobbi Brown. It's not as good as the Loreal True Match that we've reviewed. It's about average in terms of what you would get at a department store or Sephora. Definitely not drugstore though. It has 23 shades, which is about average. I do not think it has a very good amount of shades for fairer people. They have NW10 and NW13 and NW15. I'm currently wearing NW13 and it is too dark. I don't know if you can tell. They don't have any yellow toned shades for fairer people. They're all really pink. So I haven't looked at the darker skin tones to see what their range is. I'm just more familiar with the fair end of the spectrum. So the coverage. I do not like the way that this foundation, the amount that it covers. I have concealer on these blemishes and you can still see them. But here I have some footage of earlier before I put my concealer on. So I tried to add a second coat to see if it was buildable, and it is not. So I'm going to try and zoom in so you can see. So right here in between my brows, it's kind of just like highlighting all of the blackheads that I have, and it just doesn't lay very nicely if you add a lot. So overall this does not give great coverage. You can still see my acne. It didn't really cover my freckles. It does kind of even out your skin tone though, so if you're just looking for, if you already have really nice skin and there are no dry patches or oily patches and you just want to even out your skin tone, this might be good for that. But I feel like that's such few people. Like, most people have issues that they want to deal with, like oily skin, but this will separate on it, or like dry skin, but this will like pile up in the dry patches. Like right now my skin is pretty, it's not very dry right now, but sometimes it does get dry, and I've tried it when my skin was dry and it was not pretty. As you can see, it does not cover anything. It kind of evens out your skin tone, but it does not give you any coverage. It's very light coverage. Comparable to a tinted moisturizer, except this is not moisturizing. If you have dry skin, it will clop up in the dry patches. I'm gonna give this like a 3 on coverage because does not cover anything. I mean, that's what it's marketed as. It's the wearability. No. If you have perfectly even skin, no blemishes, no oil, no dry spots, this is the foundation for you, but that is not a lot of people. It is, I don't know if you can see, it has separated where my wrinkles are. It has piled up where my blackheads are and where my oil is. It's separating a little bit. I'm gonna give it a 3 on wearability as well. It could be worse, but it's the worst one I've ever tried. So the packaging gets a 3 out of 5 for me because it's a dropper, which I feel like has the potential to make a mess. It's not airtight, so bacteria can get in there, so that shortens its shelf life. Yeah, I just don't think it's the optimal packaging. It's not terrible. It's not like the Loreal where you have to stick your fingers in it every time you use it, but it's not that great, so I give it a 3. So the ingredients. There are a couple of ingredients that could cause clogged pores, such as ethylhexyl palmitate, but you just need to make sure that you are washing your face at the end of the day, and that should be fine. What's more worrying, however, is two of the ingredients that they use. One is for sunscreen, which is ethylhexyl methoxycinnamate. I hope I said that correctly. This is very controversial. It has been shown to be toxic to mice cells in amounts that are lower than what we would use as a sunscreen. However, another study found that it doesn't penetrate your skin enough for that to be an issue. But another study found estrogenic and neurological effects in lab animals. And like I said before, if an ingredient has like this kind of controversy around it and there's like a worry or potential that it could cause these effects, like I'd want to stay away from it. Another ingredient it has is phenoxyethanol, which is a potential allergen, as well as is toxic in high doses. And granted, in foundation it's not going to be in high doses, it's going to be in very small doses, but in long-term exposure can cause organ damage. Some studies have found that it's safe. Some studies have found that it is not safe around your mouth, like to ingest it in any amount. And the FDA has warned against products that, like a nipple cream, where an infant like might be ingesting it. It could cause serious problems with the infant. So like I said, I just like to stay away from that kind of stuff if at all possible. So I'm gonna give it a 4 for ingredients, because some of that is kind of worrying to me. So those are all of the categories that I can rate it on at this moment. I will come back in several hours and do a check-in and see how it's wearing and give it a final rating for longevity and give it a total score and compare it to the other ones. So bye for now. Hey, so I'm back for the check-in. It's only been 5 hours. It's not, usually I go 8 hours, but I could not handle having that on my face for any longer. It never dried down, and that might have been because I put on like 2 coats, but usually like foundation is buildable. So like it never dried. It was just like sticky, and like it kept getting on my hands and my phone, and it was like, it just made me feel like my skin couldn't breathe. It was just not a fun time. So I'm actually going to dock the wearability. I know I said 3 earlier, but I'm going to change it to a 1 because I couldn't even wear it all day. I had to take it off. The longevity, it had started, I probably should have made a video before I took it off, but it had started to sink into my pores and kind of like not in a good way. Like, so it was just exaggerating my pores and making them way more noticeable. You could kind of tell it was wearing off on the sides of my face, but it wasn't like terribly wearing off. So I'm going to give it a 4 in longevity, because like even though I would get it on my hands and my phone, like you couldn't really notice it, but it didn't look as nice as it did when you first applied it. So overall that gives MAC Studio Waterweight a 44%, which is the worst foundation that I've tried so far. which does not surprise me because that was the worst. Like, I couldn't even wear it a day. It was, because it just made everything look worse, like my pores and like my dry spots and my blackheads, and it didn't really cover much, and wherever it was oily, like up here, it would separate in my lines. Like if you had wrinkles, that would not, it just was not a good foundation. So here it is compared with the other foundations that I've tried so far. So I hope this review was helpful, and I understand like some people might really like this foundation, so it just didn't work for me. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye.